I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Jonny Smith.
And this is Smith and Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars. And this week, I've got my Range Rover.
I've got a travel rug around my shoulders. And it's from a car launch. Yeah, it's a...
What?
It's true.
What? A few weeks ago, we had a message from somebody who went, it's a bit strange, this podcast, because Jonny hasn't mentioned how cold he is. But here we are back. Which car launch?
Honda E. There was a sort of padded-backed travel blanket with the silhouette of a Honda E on it, and I've got it over one's shoulders as we speak.
Is this some kind of tacit admission that the range on that car isn't great, so turn the heater off while you're driving?
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Rug.
You could have a Honda E space blanket, couldn't you? It should be one of those ones at the side of the road when there's been an emergency. Yeah.
Like those ones that sort of
foil
make you look like a massive microwavable pasty or something.
Well, they make you look like you've been found in the sea with no clothes on. That's what I always think. Or like, I don't know, a reservoir at the side of the motorway. They're like, what on earth has that person been doing? They went out skinny dipping 3 days ago. They've just been found. They seem to be alive. What? Really? In winter in the UK? Yeah.
Or you look like you're doing an impression of a lunar rover or satellite, because they're always wrapped in that stuff.
It's always gold.
I always wonder why.
It's because it's gold.
I suppose it is.
It's reflective gold foil, isn't it? It's real gold.
Is it real gold?
It is real gold. Yeah, absolutely. On all the lunar stuff. Yeah. I love her. In fact, that we didn't talk about that a few weeks ago when the Mars rover sent back, I don't know, a load of TikTok videos or something from the surface of Mars. And of course, I get so many messages about, because there's the mention of rover, I'm sure you do, and people are constantly going, what rover was on Mars, do you think? Was it, I don't know, some old faithful SD1, 800? Yeah. Was it an MG? Did it Jocelyn, MGZT or something? MGZS. So I get all of those. Or of course, nowadays, rappers referring to Range Rovers as rovers, which I know we've touched on in a previous chat. Yeah. Which I'm still... It's not comfortable. That doesn't sit comfortably with me.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't sound right to British ears, does it? But Americans, I guess it does.
Do you refer to your Range Rover as the Rover?
No.
Could you?
Never. I'll come on to that in a minute. I was just going to say, because speaking of that Mars rover, I've been to the place where those are made.
Have you?
In California, yeah, the NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, just outside Los Angeles, which is, or the JPL as it's called. I went there a few years ago because a friend of ours used to work there, and she said, do you want to come and have a look?
And you said, hell yes.
I said, hell yes. And it's fascinating, but it's also it's the site of possibly the single stupidest question I've ever asked in my life. Or certainly, I think it's the question that I felt the most stupid, because I was literally in the same building as some rocket scientists. Because our friend just gave me a little wander around, and we had a look at some stuff, and we went to the room where they're actually building rovers, and it's amazing. It's just, you're sort of looking at this stuff, and you're like, that's going into space, and it's like, but it looks like a sort of amazing kind of Meccano / Tamiya mash-up laboratory, just to building all this cool stuff. But then I got taken into this big room. There's like a sort of a viewing mezzanine walkway thing above this big room, sort of like the size of a school hall.
Yeah,
or maybe a bit bigger. It was a pretty big room, and it's full of red dirt that's all sort of lumpy and bumpy and got bigger rocks in it and stuff like that. And it's a room where they go and try out the rovers. They drive them around just to see how they get on.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Into this thing, and I looked down at all these tons and tons of red dirt that makes up the floor of this room, and I went, "Oh wow, is that actual Mars dirt?"
Oh, you twat!
And our friend went, "No, it's actually from Arizona. It would be prohibitively hard to get dirt back from Mars in this quantity. I was like, oh yes, of course it would. They're not sending a fucking Seddon Atkinson tipper truck up there, are they? I completely forgot. And I felt like a massive thickie.
Did you just want to go home and hit yourself?
Yeah, I did. I was like, have you got any rockets? Because I'd just like to fire myself into the heart of the sun now, please.
It's funny you should say that, because I think probably coming up for 3 years ago, I went to Berlin, to the site of where Audi had commissioned their Lunar Quattro rover vehicle to be built by a gang of people called Part-Time Scientists, PTS. This really cool, I don't know, sort of like a boutique-y kind of scientific warehouse where they were on a budget trying to build this thing, and they were doing testing. There were two of them, and they had a little corner with like a soft play area, but it was lots of igneous rock ground up, and volcanic rock, and it was practicing off-road capabilities of these radio-controlled things, and they'd set up on an iPad for me to try and drive this Audi Lunar Quattro, and it was brilliant. It's actually really small. I think it's about a metre square.
Yeah.
It's not very big, but obviously, because they said, like every gram really counts, because of obviously getting it there successfully and making sure it lands without falling on its head and, I don't know, snapping off its camera roof. And then they're like, oh shit, well, it will drive, but we don't know where it's going, so that's sort of a waste of the last 5 years. So
imagine. I mean, I know we were talking earlier before we started doing the show about that sort of, sometimes when you get paralysed by having too much work to do, so you sort of end up doing none of it.
Oh.
And it's a bit depressing, and you get cross with yourself. But imagine knuckling down on a project and then after 5 years going, oh, it's a bit of a waste of the last 5 years, that, wasn't it? Oh well. I couldn't
shrug that off very easily.
No, you just go, well, what if the next 5 years is a waste as well? What if I am in fact wasting my entire life?
Yeah,
and that's
it's a bit. I guess it's a bit like
troubling thought.
A bit like people that have great ideas that constantly get copied and they don't get the financial reward or the recognition. A bit like Bruce Mayer, the beach buggy guy we were talking about, where he came up with probably half a dozen really cool ideas, and each one just got instantly copied, and he didn't reap the rewards. You could see how someone like that could get massively bitter.
Yeah. I know, it must be frustrating, but
yeah, I don't even think the Audi Lunar Quattro has been launched yet. I think because it's going up in one of Elon's SpaceX National Express coaches.
Yeah, they keep exploding though, don't they? That's the thing that sort of delaying that project.
It's a megabus. You pay such a small amount of money to get a trip on it. It's all a bit like, I don't know if it'll get there. Maybe it will. Who knows? Might
explode. Well, I mean, it will explode. We guarantee it explodes. Because I said that last one a couple of weeks ago, which did, I mean, in fairness, did sort of successfully go through its whole landing sequence, didn't it? But then it landed.
Did it land and then just explode? Or
yeah. But it's almost like it's become, because a mate of mine sent me a WhatsApp going, oh, exciting, the whatever, I can't remember what they're called now, the latest one, number 12 it was in somewhere or other, wasn't it? And he went, oh, it's
Apollo.
Tonight.
It was Apollo Creed, wasn't it?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mission to Moscow.
Yeah.
And so they, my mate sent me this thing, and I was like, when's it going to explode then, as a joke? And then I... And then I checked on social media after it happened, and I was almost like, this is a piss take now, because it did it successfully, but then it's like, oh wait, exploding, that's our thing, isn't it? Exploded after it had landed, but I'm sure they'll get there in the end.
I know we're making light of it, of an amazing engineering and scientific feat.
Yeah. Well, that's it. But imagine that you've worked on it again. They must have worked on it for a long, long time, and they go, is it going to work? Is it going to work? It's worked. Oh, it's exploded again. It's like, I mean, apart from anything else, when it explodes, that's it. That's all the hardware fucked, isn't it? You've got to go and do it again. Whereas I imagine, otherwise, you can rebuild it and use it again. So it's just a sheer sort of material cost plus time cost. It must be really, really There's nothing that I ever work on in my career that you go, oh no, it's all got destroyed, we've got to start again.
Oh, come on, there must be retakes where you filmed
Actually,
stuff and either you're not allowed to because someone was wearing a Coca-Cola cap all the way through and no one noticed and they couldn't do it for advertising purposes, or I don't know, there was a corrupt... we've had corrupt files where I've come back from a job and then the next day the directors phoned me up and gone, listen, we're going to, in the next sort of couple of weeks, we're going to have to do all that again. I'm afraid there was a corrupt couple of cars. We've had an issue which we couldn't tell until we got into the editing suite, and you're like, oh, for crying... And that's so deflating because you know you probably won't be able to do as good a job again. And your heart's not in it either, because if your heart's not in it, you know you won't do as well, because you can't be asked. But,
well, that's true. I think whenever you lose a piece of work, whether it's a video or audio or written, but if for a reason, usually a computer, kind of a digital snafu of some sort, but whenever you lose it, even if you redo it again, and it's perfectly fine, I think you convince yourself that the version that's lost forever was the greatest thing you've ever done in your life.
Oh, totally. I did it with
will never come back.
I did it with a school project, GCSEs. I was doing it on my Commodore Amiga because that was the computer we had, but it was a little bit beyond it to do some of the things I was doing. You had to save. I got into the habit of saving every sentence, and to this day, I still save every sentence.
Do you?
Yeah, I just do Apple S, like almost like a nervous tick. Yeah, because I've lost so much stuff and I just can't be bothered with it anymore.
You don't ever work with Google Docs?
Yes, I do. I do now.
And do you get weirded out by the fact that just auto-saves?
Yeah, I love it.
Because I do.
That's why I have Gmail. Because if I sneeze and my computer disappears, I know it's saved that email, which is always nice.
But I'm not as a sort of reflexive Apple esser as you, clearly, but I do try and save quite a lot.
I've been called worse.
I'm always going for I'll just save this, finish this paragraph, I'll just save this, and because I'm working on something at the moment with other people, so we're using Google Docs because it's a really good way to work collaboratively,
share material.
But it just it freaks me out, man. I'm not comfortable with this. Where's the save? Oh, it's doing it, or is it though? Is it doing it? Is it? And so far, yes.
Oh, it's a bit like cars which self-lock, but then when you go back to check whether they really have, of course, it will have unlocked because that's what it does.
Renaults do that now, don't they? And I had the new Dacia Sandero the other week, and that does it. And it's too clever for its own good. I realised when I was mucking around with the menus on the Dacia, you can turn it off, but it's sort of, on the one hand you go, that's very good, that's very clever. On the other, you're like, nah. There's too much margin for error here that I'm not.
Nah, I'm out, mate. I'm out.
I'm just talking of things. Yeah, well, we're talking of things exploding, and you've got to start again. But it just reminded me of years ago on Top Gear. We were filming an item around the making of the Sweeney movie. It's one of the single worst things we ever did on Top Gear. Absolute horse shit item.
I remember it. I remember the Jag sort of sliding into a static caravan and like tearing the whole corner off it.
Yes. It's funny because Jaguar lent us 2 identical XFRs. And
it was a proper weapon of a car.
Yeah, lovely car. Now, I'm sure they said to us that you can wreck one of them and keep the other one for best, please.
Oh, no. Seriously.
I'm convinced that was said at the time, and there was nothing, because Jeremy did a power slide into a static caravan, absolutely smashed the rear 3/4 of it, proper, like sort of, because the back wings of modern cars is all welded into the monocoque.
Yeah,
that's a bastard of a repair. So basically, that car was written off. It's only quite recently someone at Jag said to me, yeah, we didn't realise you were going to do that. It cost a fortune to mend that car. And I was like, what? But I'm sure you said we could destroy it. So
you got to get that shit in writing. I mean, that's what's that?
I didn't do that deal, so I don't feel...
It was like an 80 grand car, wasn't it, at the time?
Yeah, and it was lovely. It was an engineering car, I think, so it was sort of... or pre-prod or something, I forget now. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe, again, I'm just misremembering it. But no, the reason I bring this up is that exact sequence, it was a one-shot deal because the caravan was rigged with explosives. And so
naturally,
it was always planned. The car comes in, clips.
I could have lived in that with my cat and with my family.
Yeah. No, it was a bit
mouldy.
manky. Yeah. Jeremy clipped it a bit too hard, but it was fine. He got the shot. It all worked. But it was with one of those sort of, one take deals. There's a lot of, right, is everything definitely okay? Checking, double checking. Camera's good. Everyone okay? All right. Okay. Explosives good. Yeah. Okay. They're live. Definitely cameras rolling. Everybody, fresh batteries, fresh cards or tapes back then. Are we ready? Okay. This is it, people. And in 3, 2, whoa, wait a second. And our on-set safety advisor, who had a terrible habit of taking pictures on set, just for his own
when you're
amusement.
not allowed to. Yeah.
Well, just be cool about it. And he was poking his head out from behind a bush with his phone poised to get some photos. He was wearing a luminous yellow cap, which was showing up on the top shot with one of our camera people up on a cherry picker, and it was him who went, whoa, no, let's not go yet, because he'd seen this fucking stupid bright yellow cap showing up in the corner of his shot, which would have been a bit annoying. So safety guy got a bollocking, and then we did the shot. But it was that was almost one of those ones where it wouldn't have ruined the shot. It would have just been a bit like,
it would have been inconvenient and slightly unprofessional.
Slightly unprofessional.
Yeah. How did we start talking about this?
I don't know, because Mars Rovers, and then
that's right. Yeah.
And but I was going to say slight change of subject, but not. I've got my Range Rover at last.
I
went and got it last week.
The supercharged range.
Supercharged Range Rover. Yeah, I had to go up to get it because the dealer wasn't going to hold it forever, even though he had a small deposit. So I went up and collected it and drove back, and it was lovely. I got into it. Bear in mind, I hadn't seen it. This thing I'd only seen it in pictures. And I got into it, and it all seemed okay, and so the deal was done. And of course, how do car dealers get all cars running on fumes? Do you think they siphon, or do they just drive?
No,
around?
they drive.
They use the stock.
They drive around carefully, and just to make sure. And that's why if they've got a load of really nice cars, but they're driving around in, I don't know, some trade-in horrible knacker like a Mariva, it's because the Mariva will have had half a tank, and it's just simple maths. I'm not paying for fuel, so therefore. Yeah.
But it's also, I understand it, because I said it to my wife, and of course I drove it away, and it was on fucking fumes. It was saying distance till empty 6 miles. Like, the guy had really, he was from the same school as a bloke I used to work with years ago at old Top Gear, who was well known for being able to run press cars down to nothing, and then he would go, does anyone else want the keys to this Ferrari or something? And he'd obviously taught this dealer everything he knows, so the first thing I had to do was go to a petrol station, but I said to my wife, it was running on fumes. She's like, why do they do that? And I was like, because why would they put profit into the tank? It's like they're giving away fuel is giving away money, isn't it? And that's
right.
Not how you run a business. But
how much was it, Rich? Because that's the uncomfortable bit. It's got to be over 100 quid, 120 quid.
120 quid.
120 quid. I've bought an Astra with an MOT for that.
Well, here's an interesting one.
It did have a leaky sunroof.
I had to go and get this car from Lancashire. Cost me £60 to get the train up there. I put 120 quid's worth of juice in the Range Rover, and it used half a tank to get me back to London. So,
well, that's the problem with the British railway system. It's
yeah. I did buy the ticket quite late. I'm sure it would have been a lot cheaper. If I bought it.
Trains are supposed to be, or traditionally were, for all classes. Like if you couldn't afford a car, you would take the train. It doesn't encourage you to take the train, does it? So, I mean, I remember spending well over 100 quid on a ticket, and I had to sit on the floor next to a toilet. Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah,
because you get that slow opening electric door on the trains. The ones where it's a bit like it's a bit like, if you remember Blind Date, when they used to reveal the divider so you could see the man or the woman that you'd chosen. But it's like poo smelling Blind Date. It would open really slowly, and it's.
On the plus side, now that the franchise has changed on that West Coast main line, they've got rid of that recording in the bogs, which was the single least funny thing in the history of humanity.
Gosh,
did you ever experience that?
I don't think so. I barely use train toilets. I tend to just hold it in. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, because they're always just in a state of ruination. A bit like the Channel Tunnel toilets. You just don't go there.
Holy crap, they're so bad, aren't they? What is going on there? Why are they... It's just...
I just think people go in there and they lock the door and then shut their eyes and they just guess where the pan was. I think, and it's some sort of European game that I'm not familiar with. Just a terrible idea.
Maybe.
It's a Euro game.
Yeah, but there's something about the design of the loos on the Channel Tunnel that reminds people from continental Europe of their local version of the Crystal Maze, and they just assume it's the same things. It's the Crystal Maze, but with shitting.
It's the Euro Lab Zone.
It's weird, isn't it? They are those on the car train. They are very, very bad. Those loos.
I remember using them once. Not only was it a 15-minute walk, which I hadn't anticipated through every carriage. That when I got there, it was just like a scene from Train Spotting, and I was genuinely appalled. And I vowed never to do it again. In fact, when I took my kids on the Channel Tunnel for the first time a few years back, one of them needed the toilet. I went, not happening. He went, but there's got to be a toilet on the train. I said, Donny, it's not happening. Trust me, your father's seen it. He doesn't want to put you through that.
I would rather hold you out of the window.
Oh, it's honestly
than expose you to the.
It would be like stamping on a caramel icing bag from stood on a table at great height. It's just absolutely terrible. In fact, the only tonic for that. I'm going to put this next to the microphone so you can hear it. What am I doing?
I don't know.
I'm splashing. It's liberally. I've just thrown it on all over my neck.
Oh, not the Brut again.
Oh my God, it's absolutely amazing. See that? I've had to clear up quite a bit of cat sick recently. One of my cats is catching a lot of wildlife, and it's obviously not going down well in the and it just keeps retching. It's just horrible. I don't know, it just looks like Bisto and Weetabix had a terrible night out. But the only way I can combat...
How are animals still alive is one of my questions. I mean, I usually think cats are a bit more sensible. Yeah, dogs.
Oh, because I don't know.
Our dog will eat anything that it spots on the street if you give it half a chance. I mean, it's a constant battle to stop her like wolfing down a visibly mouldy sort of baguette end that she's spotted in the gutter that's got like some fox shit on it, which for a dog clearly seems to make it
it's an aphrodisiac.
More desirable. It's like, it's been drizzled with a jus of feces. but then if you're not quick enough to stop her eating this kind of literal shite off the street, then sometimes it then obviously has a very bad effect on her guts.
Yes.
And you just go, if it wasn't for me, you'd be eating more of this stuff because you have an insatiable desire for revolting things off the floor. And at some point, this is going to kill you. And I sort of think, by extension, how are animals still alive? Because they are fucking stupid when it comes to eating stuff that's going to make them ill.
Well, they've got Japanese electronics. I think that must be it. It's very, very... it's the only logical reason. Or they use very, very low friction lube, like good quality oil, say a 0.50 weight. Trying to think of a good oil. Castrol Magnatech, is that a...
I think that's probably quite good.
Probably a good one. Mobil One.
Yeah.
If there's any other oils out there, then I'm not prejudicing.
I'm sure... like Esso must have a brand name up spec oil as well, but I can't tell you what it is.
No, you've got Shell's got Helix, is it?
They're kind of yes.
The Helix, you got. It depends. I go for different oils on different cars at different brands. Can't really remember why. It just feels comfortable. I like buying oil for a car. It feels like I'm buying blood for a relative. it's like, I know it's really important, so I try to take pride in the process of it and go, yes, this is important, I'm going to do this. I had to put a bit of oil in. I did the first mow of the year last week, got the mower and the strimmer out, and I, despite being enthusiastic about EVs and things, I still have a petrol mower and a 2-stroke strimmer because I quite like the smell against cut grass. So that combo is quite, it's something very special, and it signifies his hope that the British spring and summertime is here. Although I'm sitting here with a rug over my shoulders because it's piss-arsing freezing again, and I'm just annoyed. And I've made no progress on any of my work this week, and I've got no one else to blame. But apart from that, it was good. It was good to get the mower going. First pull of the cord.
It's not a ride-on.
No, I have got a ride-on, but it's mostly for ornamental purposes, showboating largely. It's only because it's a vintage ride-on and it's nothing short of lethal. It constantly tries to high-side you because it's zero steer but with loads of frontal weight and no weight at the back. So the back it tends to dip down and try and throw you high, and the back lifts. It's lift-off oversteer. Is it? Yeah, it's lift-off oversteer in many ways. Oh. Yeah, it's very... I'll send you a picture. It's extremely stylish, but totally unpredictable to drive.
Hang on, which end steers?
Well, it steers... it's hinged in the middle, so...
Okay, right.
You are sitting... There's a chair on the roller at the rear. It's front-wheel drive, which makes it a little bit scrabbly. It's very, very unusual design. It's one of the reasons why I like it. It's a British Anzani lawnrider, if anyone gives a toss. But
later in session, British Anzani lawnrider.
Yeah, and it's an amazing design. Came out in the 50s, I think. Probably one of the most stylish mowers out there. If anyone wants to compete with that, bring it on. I'll put a picture up for our Patreons.
Probably one of the most stylish mowers out there.
There's some great mowers out there, man. There's some of the classic mowers are just such good looking, but also very dangerous. You've got to be very careful. My brother's got a kickstart mower, and that takes no prisoners. Don't mess with that. My brother got in just before his kids started school, he got one of the stationary engines that my neighbour sold him going.
What? Hang on, what?
Well, my neighbour's got a bit of sort of scrap down the side of the house and had a couple of vintage stationary engines. My brother's really interested in them, always has been since we were lads. And Greg bought one off him and got it going with his son as just like a little dad and lad project. But of course it's crank handle start, and it's got a huge pair of iron flywheels on it because it's for just chugging away. And he got it. He sent me a little WhatsApp video. In fact, I'll send it to you. He got it. The first run of it, they filmed. He said it was really, really nasty to start. It was a proper wrist breaker, and also it skips along the ground because he hasn't bolted it down to anything. So it's like basically just really angry, dangerous thing. He said it ran very smoothly, but it's the weight of the flywheels is such where it's not gonna die quietly.
I'm gonna question the use of the word smoothly there.
Oh, I think, considering it's not running over 40 years, that particular one, and it went on the first turn of the handle. It's supposed to supposed to run on paraffin, Greg said, but he didn't have any, so he just used normal petrol. But yeah, a bit like your Range Rover, isn't it? It's supposed to run on paraffin, but you're giving it. Did you put super in it?
No,
because that would have been about what? 260 quid.
Yeah. No, I don't think it doesn't demand super. I might treat the Range Rover to a bit of super every so often, but no, I can't. I mean, I should say that's the thing. We do so few miles. It's like the other half of the tank now will last for ages. Even I mean, also, I had a pretty brisk run back. The roads were really quiet and everything was running well, and I didn't even need a wee stop or anything like that, and it's so comfy. I was just like, oh, fuck it, we're coming through. And so I did sort of 200 miles in one hit, and it did 22 miles to the gallon, so considering it's punching a lot of air out of the way at a brisk
That
pace.
is punching a lot of air. That's train levels of frontal area, isn't it? Wow. Was it as good as you? Because obviously you bought the car blind or semi-blind.
Yeah.
Was it as good, or is it as good as you hoped?
Yeah, it is actually. I mean, it's a it felt the way I expected it to feel. Like it feels in good order. It tracks straight and true. It brakes in a straight line, which is always a bonus. I mean, it's an 11-year-old car, so you just don't take these things for granted, do you? But the only thing is, it smells. It's got that sort of slight mustiness to it that you just get with. As my wife said, I went, "What do you think?" And she went, "I think it smells like a 10-year-old car," and I know what she means, so I'm going to give the leather a really good clean.
Yeah, you can deodorise it, can't you?
Yeah, well, I've got some cleaner that came highly recommended because it's cream leather, so you can just see in places. Mainly the driver's seat's just got that sort of telltale sort of, people have driven it wearing jeans, and it's a bit discoloured on the squab. So I'm going to give that a really good clean, just see if we can bring it.
You know what you can do? Another thing I think. I mean, I've got quite a lot of valeting and detailing background. One thing I highly recommend. I'm just going to put it up to the microphone now.
It's not Brut again.
Yeah, this is Splash On Lotion by Brut, and what I find is really, it says you just use liberally over the body to tone your skin with the fresh and distinctive fragrance of Brut. However, you can also use it on the overmats of a car which you might think has had a questionable past. Just ladle it on. Just maybe unscrew the little Splash On adapter bit and just drizzle it. A bit like, I don't know, a TV chef would put balsamic vinegar on. Just really go for it.
I might do balsamic vinegar as well, make the car smell.
I might put a bit of balsamic vinegar on my neck, pretend to be really Mediterranean.
Anyway, I'm going to clean the leather, and someone else last week pointed out, said to me, a mate of mine said, have you checked the pollen filter? Because sometimes they get a bit musty, and that's a good point, I thought. So I'll stick a new pollen filter in it, just freshen it up. But otherwise, no, it's grand. I mean, I put it on Twitter last week. When I got it, I just put a picture of the supercharged badge, and loads of people piled in, almost universally, just making quips about it breaking down.
Yeah, I think I might have been one of them.
Like, it's not the most original thought in the world, but also I was like, fucking hell, I'm glad I didn't put a picture of like a newborn baby up. People go, oh, that's nice, isn't it? I hope it doesn't get cancer. Fucking hell, I've got a new car. Be happy for me for a minute, and then do the reliability jokes. But no, everyone piled in. So, but anyway, it's a week. I've had it a week, and it's not gone wrong. Touch wood. I mean, I've hardly driven it since I've got it back.
I was going to say,
it's fine. So we'll,
you need to get updated. It because it's got quite a big roof area and stuff. You want to get a decent coating of polish and wax on it, because it'll be so much easier to get rid of all the kind of sky rat turds and things.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
it's worth spending a good day on it, I would say,
because it's a time-consuming thing, isn't it? You do have to sort of set aside a day.
You can't rush a decent valet/detail. I mean, you can. I can do a quick one in an hour, but I'm never satisfied with it. I'm sort of a bit cross with the fact that I have to gloss over the detail. Whereas, really, a car that size, that is a long day to do it right. However, people might go, that's just a waste of time. What I would counter that with is washing the car thereafter for about half a year, or more, depending on what products you use, is a walk in the park. Because everything's repelled. Yeah. It's a bit like having a wax jacket re-waxed. It's just a noticeable difference.
Or, as we were talking about last week, being a soft rocker and carefully oiling your leather waistcoat.
Oh, completely, yes. It's just like that, actually. Some of the feedback from that has been hilarious. Some of the comments about leather waistcoated Beerfest man has made me chuckle a bit.
I think weirdly, a lot of people seem to know or have seen that man.
I think there's either two of them, or same guy just goes to every beer festival in the United Kingdom / Europe.
I think there's more than two of them.
Do you?
Yeah, but I think it's like the Ravens at the Tower of London. Beer festivals can't go ahead unless one of them is there.
Oh, okay. So they're waiting for him, like before they cut the ribbon, as it were.
Yeah. Do you know what else? I was thinking, actually, when I was on the train to go and get my car last week, I realised I like being on the train because you get to see bits of the country that you don't necessarily get to see. It sort of like feels like train lines go through and behind things that roads don't. Plus, I'm usually driving, so you don't get to have a good look at the same way you do on a train.
Yeah.
And one of the things that trains go past a lot is canals.
Yes, they do. They follow a lot of canals, and canals can be quite grubby, can't they, and quite neglected, or very, very beautiful.
It's your industrial revolution infrastructure lines, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, I was thinking actually that the leather waistcoat, ponytail, Croc Dundee hat, beer festival man
guy
might have a canal boat.
Oh yeah, he doesn't do houses.
Yeah.
Unless he's been left a house by his late parents, he would probably go narrowboat. Yeah, I think you're right. There'd also be a donut Discovery parked in the marina, which is a constant source of annoyance to everyone around him. So there's a broken one that he cannibalises for bits because he's a logical guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's true. Joe, weirdly, after that feature, someone sent me a possible kind of hedge find, field find vehicle. They sent a picture and emailed it to me of a 2-door Discovery 1 that they found in a field.
Oh.
Yeah, and I kind of went, ooh, quite into that.
In good nick or in...
It looks okay, but then that's before we've crawled under it and seen the sins that may lie beneath.
Yeah, because the top is going to be relatively okay because it's largely aluminium, isn't it? But
yeah, it's the over the back axle chassis area and all of that. I've had a couple of nice cars in to test this week, and unfortunately, I've not driven any of them enough. And again, that's another source of my feeling tense and a bit annoyed with myself for not progressing as much. But I have to say, I've had a 992 911 in, with a Manuel gearbox. I didn't know that all 911s now come with PDK, but manual is a zero cost option.
Yes,
I didn't know
the
that.
992. Yeah,
I thought it must have been a 992. I kind of missed that memo. I knew that most people ordered it with the P2K, as you call it.
Yeah, because when the 992 came out, it was launched with the P2K gearbox, and then they introduced the manual as, like you said, no cost option. But then, because I forget what the numbers are, it's sort of it's madly skewed towards the PDK, and
which is such a shame.
But with the GT cars, with the GT3s and stuff, I think I read something that bloke with the unspellable surname, he said they were surprised how many people buying GT3s went for the manual. So it's more than they expected.
Well, that's good, because obviously if the stats show that these things don't get bought, then they get canned.
How is the Manuel in the normal
absolutely good. I mean, to the point where my wife she said, "Oh, did the 911 just get delivered?" I said, "Yeah, I just drove it down the road and did a U-turn." She went, "Yeah, why are you so happy?" I just went, "I've driven it like 200 meters, and I know the manual is absolutely perfect. It's just such a good. Yeah, again." The PDK is a fine box, you know that, but the manual is just so good. It's like you have to. It's so damn satisfying. And I have to say, this is a Carrera S. It is fast, way faster than I was expecting it to be. Like, because of course you look at the badge and you go Carrera S, that'll be a fairly swift 911, but it's not going to be a weapon. Oh, this is a weapon. It's a weapon.
Yeah. Well, they're faster now, aren't they, than the old turbos, I think?
Yeah, they have to be. This thing is so fast. I had to look up the spec to just double check, because I think this is... Because obviously it's a bigger car, it's physically wider, so it feels a little bit harder to kind of thread it down a back lane. But needless to say, I was so impressed with the performance of it. You think, hang on a minute, you don't need a faster sports car than a Carrera S. That's it.
I remember thinking that when I drove we filmed it, didn't we, the 992 Carrera S when it first came out, and I remember thinking when we we drove it. It's just like, what do you need?
That's the one we lost the camera on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did we ever tell that story? I can't remember.
I don't know. I think. I mean, it was a great story where we were. This was when we were filming Smith and Sniff as a video, and it's on our YouTube channel if you want to watch the episode with the 2 episodes with the 911. But I hastily put a GoPro action camera on the back, and it fell off almost as soon as we pulled away. And it was rush hour, and it was it Barnet in London?
Yeah, it was just sort of right at the top of North London.
And we had loads of footage on it of the rest of the conversation that day, and me being not a very professional cameraman, I hadn't swapped cards, and I panicked, and I must have run up and down that street for about an hour. I had a big sweat
You
on.
went like a deranged... because
time's of the essence.
We sort of finished talking, haven't we? We finished saying everything... Well, as much as we ever do, we'd sort of finished saying everything we thought we needed to say, and we were just getting some... On our way back into London to go to my house, where your car was, we were just getting some of those sort of extra shots that you need, or that our editor always used to thank us for, and that's when it fell off. But it wasn't your camera, was it? You'd borrowed it.
I'd borrowed that camera, yeah, because I normally use Olfi cameras, which are like a Welsh version of a GoPro, which are very good, excellent value. And we needed an extra camera. I can't remember why. And I was using that, and it was the videographer and editor that I use a lot of, Mark Hankins, and so I felt terrible. But I also felt terrible the fact that we'd lost all of this footage, so the whole day had been a total waste. So I just thought it must have fallen off in the last 5 minutes or so. So I just sprinted down the road to where we'd been, thinking, you've got to get to the crime scene while it's fresh. Yeah,
rush hour traffic being what it is.
Oh yeah,
it took me longer to drive back up High Barnet High Street.
Yeah,
so you ran like a gazelle. It was extraordinary.
I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it, because that's why I want to try and get fitter, because you never know when you need that fitness in an emergency
sprint
scenario.
Up High Barnet High Street.
It's to run like Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon with an automatic weapon in one arm.
Yeah,
not in one arm, holding
power
one.
running. But then,
yes.
So that was that. We didn't find the camera. It sort of took the shine off the day, or was lost. And then I got an email from the Porsche press office saying that someone had been in touch and had found our camera. And this extremely nice man who'd been on his bicycle riding up, just along. He's going the same direction as us, wasn't he? We'd stopped at some traffic lights, and as we pulled away, the camera fell off. He spotted it, picked it up.
Yeah.
And tried to cycle after us. And the weird thing is the camera was running the whole time, because I watched the footage afterwards, and he catches us, and he's about to try and attract our attention, and then we drive away again. Yeah. And that was it. And the poor bloke was doing his best to give it back to us, but then he wouldn't rest in his quest to return it to its rightful owners. And so he got a tech-savvy colleague to take the card out of the camera and review the footage, from which he could see the number plate of the car from the bit where he was chasing us. And he went to his local Porsche dealer and said, "Did you sell this car?"
Yeah.
And they went, "No, that's a Reading number plate. That looks like a car from head office. Hang on, we'll contact head office." They did. They ID'd it as a press car. It came through to the press garage, press office, and PR in the press office got in touch with us and said, "Someone's got your camera." And I went to meet this guy at his work to retrieve the camera off him with a fistful of pounds to thank him for being so honest
such
and
a nice
kind.
guy. Such a nice guy.
Would not take it. He was just like, "No, it's the right thing to do. So I had to give it back to you because it's your camera." So, it was a happy ending.
I think that's a story of it's restored faith in humanity. He took the time to quickly pick it up and film the back of the car to get the license plate, and just really good. But I've been much more vigilant about suckering on cameras ever since. Or if I'm filming myself and I know when I'm doing YouTube filming, I'm always got one eye or one side mirror angled so I can see the sucker mounted camera. So as I'm talking or driving, I've got one eye on whether the camera's going to eject or not.
Yeah. It's yes. Well, how do we get onto this? Oh, because we're talking about Porsche 911s. What? So you you've had two nice cars in the past week.
I've had my review for the VW ID4, so the electric sort of crossover SUV, goes out actually today, the day that this podcast will go out, on my Late Break Show YouTube channel. But the car I've had in this week has been a GTE, so the Mark 8 Golf, sad sloth face, GTE, which I think was my favourite last Golf, possibly the GTE model. I really was quite taken by the sort of breadth of its abilities in this new efficient world that we try and live in. And I am convinced that the only Mark 8 Golf worth buying is the GTE. I'm completely convinced by it. I was going to make a film with it, and unfortunately we've had sort of strange hurricanes and things that just ruin the last 2 days, and it's gone back at 9 o'clock this morning, so that's one of the other reasons why I'm pissed off. So I don't know if I've told you, I've been a bit frustrated and pissed off this week. But the Mark 8 is a strange car, and it does look sad, like it's apologetic, and I know I've said this before, but yeah, the Mark 8 GT is a really nice combo of driving fun, real-world efficiency, and space. I'm just trying to work out whether you'd buy one over like an ID3, and I don't quite know yet, because they've both been the victim of cost cutting. I think every time I look at an ID3, I'm disappointed by the cheapness of the materials for a Volkswagen.
And how's the ID4 in that respect? Is it the same sort of thing? Does it feel a bit pared back in places? Yeah,
they maintain it's better, but I don't think it's much better in terms of quality than the ID3. But what I would say, as a package, it's a great car. I think it's a good car. It's very conservative, probably a bit too conservative for me to buy. But when you compare it against the Mach-E and the forthcoming Nissan Ariya and couple of the other, I suppose, Kia e-Niro and that kind of thing, it does very well. It's got a bigger boot than most of them. It's got a lot of interior space. Just like the ID3, though, I wouldn't buy the first edition because I think it's a really ill thought through, tacky. It's a tacky launch edition that doesn't seem to have a great deal of substance. I'm just a bit confused by it. I mean, the interior colours are just appalling, like horrible.
Like what?
Well, like grey and caramel brown two-tone seats with a white dashboard. And I'm sorry, but I like things that are a bit out there, but it simply doesn't work. Like the ID3, where you get the white dash and the white steering wheel with an orange fabric, funky fabric, that actually works. It's got zest to it. It's a bit cool. This, seriously, I like caramel on its own, and I don't mind a bit of grey faux suede, but together, no, just no. That's not acceptable. So,
on the same, well, it is the same car underneath, isn't it? Is the Skoda Enyaq?
Yes,
sail away.
So yeah, Orinoco electrical flow. Yeah, I had a massive Enyaq session the other day. My wife was just laughing at me all day.
3 people have asked me about the Enyaq, and like independently, my brother being one of them, and then a couple of.
Your brother asks, has he?
Yeah, my brother went.
What,
that's
like
what he thinks.
Is he concerned, or is he okay with it?
What about Enyaq? No, he really wants one. That's the thing. My brother's got an Audi a Q2 at the moment. That's just on a PCP.
Yeah,
and he thought it was coming to the end of its contract, so he ordered a Discovery Sport, and then discovered that the Audi's not coming to the end of its contract for another year or so. So
what?
He cancelled. Yeah, he had a personal admin failure, so he cancelled the Land Rover, which it's a long story, but then he's gone, well, actually, now I'm looking around and thinking, what will I replace the Audi with? And it's time to go electric, and he's looking at the Enyaq.
Yeah,
as his next car, so he's kind of interested. And he's been looking at that.
I think the Enyaq is going to be could be really good.
Yeah, and then one of our neighbours, I was talking to him the other day, and that was the car he brought up. He went, I'm thinking that might be our next car, family car. And then one of my mates, same thing. So it's obviously, it's piqued people's interests because Skoda have got that. Like, I think anyone who's even paying half a bit of attention, they just know now, don't they? It's like, Skodas, they're like VWs for less money.
I think 100%. I think that that VW's biggest problem is the fact that Skoda's kind of better than them now, because I think that a lot of VW products have sort of kind of lost their mojo a bit, and Skoda have just come in at the inside and gone, hey, by the way, I've been working out, and I don't know, I'm on this really amazing nutritional diet, and by the way, I think I'm better looking than you now. And you're like, oh shit, you are. Bollocks, how did that happen? So
it's because actually the interior, from what I've seen, the pictures of the interior on the Enyaq it looks quite decent. So I think the pictures I saw is just all sort of dark colour, so they've not gone for that zany thing. But so do you think VW started offering those white steering wheels in their ID range because of the decline of newspapers?
It's a very, very good point.
Every time I see a light coloured steering wheel, I just go, oh, what if you've just been reading a newspaper? That'll make a right mess. And you go, oh, people don't read newspapers anymore, do they? So, but there's other bits of dirt.
Well, I mean, if you're driving and eating, if you're doing lunch on the hop, let's say, whilst on the motorway, that could be bad, couldn't it?
Or a friend of mine who used to have company cars, and her company cars always had a weirdly sort of dusty effect on the steering wheel. Steering wheel stalks, mainly the indicator stalk, and the radio controls.
Yes.
And it was because she used to do her makeup while she was already in the car in the morning on her way to work. And then she would sort of rub in a bit of foundation with her fingers, and then she would touch.
Oh, yeah.
With her left hand, she would touch bits of the interior of the car particularly, and it would make a right old mess. If it was a white steering wheel, that would be even worse. You basically end up with a sort of orangey steering wheel.
Yeah, I think it won't work for everyone. But I like it. I think it's really cool. And I'm used to having a car. My wife's Figaro's got a cream steering wheel, albeit Bakelite.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm quite used to having to... If I've ever done any work on the car and then I get in it to manoeuvre it, I remember I have to completely clean the steering wheel with like a lemon-based degreasant.
You want to get one of those wheel Johnnies like they use in garages sometimes.
I do. I don't know where you'd buy one of those, because I probably only need like 2 ever, because I just keep it. I don't like the idea of just throwing away these things after one use. But
maybe you could achieve the same effect by if you could find a shower cap for a big-headed person, then that would probably just about stretch.
Oh yeah, it would be. It'd be a dog head. It would be. Hotels, when I used to stay at them, of course they have a universal size that has to cater for people with a big Swede head. So yeah,
they are quite stretchy, aren't they?
Yeah, I used to work with a cameraman that used to habitually ask everybody to take them out of their hotel, because he used to use them to cover the camera lens and the top of the camera when we were filming in sort of drizzle. Yeah, he was a forward thinker.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah, he was.
Very
he knew
good.
what he was doing. Sweet guy.
Oh, sweet guy. I think that. What were we talking about? Oh yes, the Enyaq. I think it's probably that's probably going to be quite good business for them, because it's sort of probably going to be cheaper than the Volkswagen, and I think it probably looks nicer and is a bit less self-consciously wacky in some ways, and people think now of Skodas as
they're cool,
the smart money's VWs. So.
Yeah, they are. I see a lot of well-heeled people who have gone from Beamers to Skodas in recent time. I've noticed, and it's acceptable in the same way that shopping at Lidl is now quite cool. It's exactly the same principle. It's cool to be a bit more thrifty, but also knowing the quality's there.
Lidl Prosecco. It's like some kind of.
It's all about the
Lidl
Lidl
badge of honour.
Yeah, it completely is. My she bloody bulk orders Lidl Prosecco. We get it in by the double box.
The beautiful voice there of Lidl Prosecco. Actually, that's a bit more a Ken Bruce one, I think.
That was very, very Ken Bruce.
New single from Lidl Prosecco.
Still pissed off that he doesn't reply to my tweets about Shotmaster.
Ken Bruce? Is he blanking you?
I think he just, for comic relief, he just should totally do Shotmaster.
Get absolutely battered. Yes.
All in the name of I'm foaming at the mouth and I can't see the room very well. All in the name of charity.
Right. Well, anyway, we probably ought to gently park this one up in a well-lit side street. So, I tell you what, I was slightly obsessed with the podcast charts that you can find on a website called Chartable. And I'm very proud to say that as of this week, I noticed that Smith & Sniff is the #1 automotive podcast in Latvia.
Is that true?
So take that, Alexei Popov. Yeah, there's only 6 podcasts in their chart. I don't know why.
What?
Yeah, but we're #1.
But we can't even speak Latvian.
I know, it's
That's
extraordinary.
amazing.
We were #1 last week in Malaysia as well for automotive.
You have become slightly obsessed.
I know, because it's very odd. I mean, I'm not complaining, but if you're listening in Latvia or Malaysia and you are instrumental in us becoming #1 automotive podcast in your country, so thanks very much. It's an unexpected delight.
I'm humbled by all the interest and the feedback that we get. I have to say, that's a serious comment. People saying that it cheers them up when maybe Monday's got a bit of heavy-browed weight to it. But of course it's not. We're never really serious, are we? I sometimes feel quite bad that we haven't given enough car substance, so I have to feed in a couple of stats. But
hey, you practically reviewed a car just now, so I think that's
it was sheer desperation, Richard. It was sheer desperation.
Yeah. We still haven't read out any listeners' messages, which we always threaten to do and then don't do it, which is annoying, I imagine. Anyway, we will at some point. I'm not going to say next week because then we'll just go and renege on that again, but we will at some point because we do get some. I mean, we have some fantastic messages. Anyway, this probably is a very good time to end stuff. So I have 3 things to tell you. They are: 1, Jonny has a solo YouTube channel called The Late Break Show, as we've mentioned, and right now you can go on there and see a review of the Volkswagen ID4. 2, I hawk all manner of books that I've written during lockdown. One of them is called Steel Flies. It's a spoof Cold War thriller by spoof alcoholic car journalist Roy Lanchester. And the 3rd thing I have to tell you is that people in Britain still have to buy a TV licence if they want to watch television. That's how we fund the BBC. But what you might not know, even if you're British, is that you can still buy a black and white TV licence.
You can, can't you?
I know. I didn't think it was still going, but it is. A normal TV licence is £157.50. Black and white TV licence, £53.
Does anybody try and get out of it? I bet they do.
It's just weird though, isn't it? Because I just imagine some old dear who's still got a black and white set and is, only got like the 5 normal channels, and
that's amazing.
Has never bothered me. I don't know. I'd love to know how many black and white licenses they sell a year, and also how many black and white licenses they sell to people who are legit watching on black and white TVs and not just gaming the system. It's weird.
Just quickly, I always try and sing in my head an introduction to a song whilst weeing, and I see if I can finish the intro, if I can finish weeing before the person would start singing. And I don't know why. And this week I've been singing "This Kiss" by Faith Hill, which is a song I don't even like. It's as random as it sounds, Rich. I don't know why. I go into the bathroom and I think I just don't know. And before that was "I Can't Stand Losing You" by The Police. My favourite one is "Mirror in the Bathroom" by The Beat. That's because it's an incredible intro anyway, so I don't get bored of it. But it's quite a difficult one to wrap up the piss.
Indeed. And on that edifying note, we'll see you again same time next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Just the Two by Timothy Dalton.